Hello, welcome back. You're here with the Pixel People, all three of us. I'm Greg. Say hello, Jen.
Hello, Jan.
And
What's going on?
that's right, we have Chris here. I think I've moved you up now. We are the Pixel People because we hit a ungodly amount of listens on our YouTube episodes, so this is pretty much cemented.
I'm not a peep anymore. I'm a people.
Yeah, you can.
I've grown up.
We can all move up and down, so watch your.
Oh, okay. Watch out, Jan.
Oh, gosh.
Well, she can't, but
You said we all
yeah,
can.
I know.
He did. He
Yes,
did.
You said it.
Yeah, I can't do that to my wife though. That'd be the ultimate insult to bump her down to a peep in the podcast.
Although I did have a
Well,
dream.
it is peep season, so
Yeah.
I did have a dream that Greg got invited to go on and do a nationwide podcast, like a huge deal. But they said, we don't want your wife to do it. So, yeah.
So this week we'll be discussing the great 80s movie 16 Candles. But before we do that, we have Jan's Gnarly News.
Here we go. Jan's Gnarly News. Jan's Gnarly News.
Hit us with that news, Jan.
Here's your March 30th, 1980-something gnarly news. March 30th, 1981 was the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan.
I was, I guess, 9 years old then, but I remember that day.
I remember that as well.
Chris, you remember that? Like
I do
when
remember
it
that.
happened? Yeah. You know, I think we talked in school by that point, maybe a little bit about, Kennedy and all that stuff. That was still pretty fresh. That was less than 20 years. But that was like a big, that just took over that day. And it was all over
what's
the
funny?
news. It was being filmed live, What? What's funny?
yeah. What's funny is I sent you something this week that the Who Shot JR episode
Oh, yeah.
came out, and then you have those two, which was a bigger assassination. You think about it, like JR took over the world, but it was Reagan. So I mean, it was within a couple weeks of each other.
Yeah.
You had both of those things.
You had to think that the CBS and those people was like, oh, my God. Because...
So
they
the JR thing was 1981 as well?
yeah, you
I don't
We might have-
know. I just know that it was the same day, like around the same
okay,
day.
gotcha.
Not date, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I won't even look it up then. Either way, if it happened the same year, they were probably like really like we can't come back with this. But no, that honestly, I hate to say it, 'cause I was a kid then, but I remember as much as the whole Who Shot JR and the whole summer worrying about that as much as I did when President Reagan got shot. Yeah, probably because we knew he's going to be all right. And remember when they had him like wave out the hospital window for everybody to show that he was all right? He was not as all right as you think. I mean, it was a lot worse than they let on for a while. It was rough. And one more thing, and it's sad to say, but if that happened today, or if it happened 5 years ago, or even happened 20 years ago, by the mid-90s, just how everybody was picking sides and starting to get really 50-50 in the country, that started in the mid-90s. It would not be the same reaction by
Yeah.
the people. It would be like, you'd have had people going, oh, what'd you miss? You didn't shoot
Yeah.
straight. And then the other ones
Well,
be
you saw
like,
that. You've seen that recently too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's just like there's no compassion from a lot of times from both sides.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they dig in and they don't ever have the ability as an adult to admit, hey, I made a mistake or this
Yeah.
person's of value or whatever because I disagree with them.
Sometimes things like that bring out the worst in people.
yeah. Which is wild because 9/11 brought everybody together for a while, and then it's
Yeah.
like, man, he's back to fighting again. So, oh well.
Oh yeah, I mean, anyway, but yeah.
yeah.
March 30th, 1981, the Pretenders released their album Extended Play. It reached number 27 on the Billboard 200 Top LPs chart.
I like a lot of Pretender songs. They got some really good songs, and then like Mystery Achievement and stuff like that. Stuff that people that wasn't a hit necessarily, but their greatest hits album, I'll just say, is like really, really good.
I didn't play any of this album,
Yeah.
but I looked up some of the songs: Message of Love, Porcelain, Talk of the Town. I don't know them by name, so I didn't know any of those.
That wasn't one of not their biggest album, but I just know that I listened to their greatest hits album a ton on Spotify, and that's a great greatest hits album. Give it a listen if you haven't.
March 30th, 1982 was the final episode of the Spider-Man animated series. But it only ran for one season, so.
Yeah.
But it was
Never
26
watched it.
episodes.
Well, I bet you did watch it. You just don't realize it, Chris. Although,
Probably. I mean, I don't know.
a lot of
Spider-Man
that
wasn't the.
Yeah, I know. It wasn't a big. I think now that I think about it, I think people of our age probably remember Spider-Man more from like was he in the Justice League?
Tobey Maguire.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I'm trying to think of the cartoons. Was he in the Justice League?
No, because the Justice League
That's
was
DC.
Batman, Superman. That's
Yeah,
DC.
that's right.
So, yeah.
He was in the Avengers, but yeah, I watched more. Okay, it's weird. I watched the cartoons of the Justice League and all that stuff with Wonder Woman and Superman
Aquaman and that's, yeah, all those
Chuck,
guys.
the Apache chief. But the movies, I like the Marvel stuff. I don't really get into the DC stuff except for Batman. So weird.
I'm Batman. March 30th, 1983, Rick Springfield released his 7th studio album, Living in Oz.
Now I know that name. He had to have a hit on that one because I know that album.
There were several hits.
Yeah.
It was certified platinum. It received a Grammy Award nomination for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance for the lead single, Affair of the Heart.
Yeah.
And it also had Human Touch and Souls.
Yeah.
This is a couple weeks in a row we talked about old
I know.
Springfield.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess
Big
he liked
early 80s.
he liked releasing stuff in March.
Yeah. Well, a lot.
I've noticed a lot, too.
Yeah, there's
That's
been
happened
a lot. I don't know if that was a big month for albums, but there's a lot of. I mean, look at we did U2, and there's a lot of albums like, and then 5150 and all that stuff. By the way, the Van Halen album or Van Halen podcast is doing very well. Thanks to everyone that was listening. Pat yourselves on the back.
For listening and
Yeah,
getting
for
through
listening.
it.
Yeah.
March 30th, 1984, Romancing the Stone premiered. Did y'all watch that one?
No, I don't. Who's in it? Is that John Hurt? Oh,
It was directed by Robert Zemeckis, written by Diane Thomas, produced by Michael Douglas, who was also
okay.
a star in it,
Yeah.
with Kathleen Turner and Danny DeVito. I remember watching that movie, but I don't know that I watched it in 1984.
Is Kathleen Turner not the one with John Hurt in that other movie that you like?
Yeah, Body Heat.
Yeah. No, the one that Jan watched. That's the Phil Collins song, isn't it? Not Against All Odds. What is it?
Against All Odds? Is that the
Is
one you're
it?
talking about?
Oh no, I just know Kathleen Turner was a smoke show back then, and she had
Oh,
she
yeah.
had a right to be in every movie.
Yeah.
No, Heat. Yeah, that's that one you're talking about. Yeah, that's a very good movie. We should watch
Rachel
that tonight.
Ward was the one in
Oh, okay,
Against All
never mind
Odds.
then. Well,
Close enough.
She still watched Body Heat. That's a good movie.
Yeah. that's a
Without
very
your
good movie.
children, don't watch it with your children around.
Yeah, that's true, too.
March 30th, 1985 was the night before the inaugural WrestleMania at Madison Square Garden. Hulk Hogan and Mr. T hosted Saturday Night Live
Yep.
that night.
And then they took on Roddy Piper and Cowboy Bob Orton in the main event.
Was it Roddy Piper and Mr. Wonderful?
Oh, Mr. Wonderful, Bob Orton was in. He was in there.
Yep.
He was in their group, but we gotta do a podcast on that sometime on WrestleMania. It's an interesting story behind that. Like, talk about people that bet on themselves. Vince McMahon bet on himself with WrestleMania. It was like, put every penny he had up, sold off a lot of stuff to put that on. Like, I'm going to make the Super Bowl of wrestling. Yeah, I'm either going to make it, and this will be something that lives in infamy, or I'm going to lose everything I own and be bankrupt. And it worked, because, good Lord, that thing is huge now. And they've ruined it. Let me add that right now. Anybody's listening, write a letter to WWE. WrestleMania now is 2 nights. They have it on Saturday night for like 4 hours and then Sunday night for 4 hours.
That's a
Yeah.
lot of WrestleMania.
Nobody wants they've ruined the specialness of it. I used to get that pay-per-view. People come over, we'd watch it. It was fun. I don't even follow wrestling much anymore. But WrestleMania, you watched it, and now it's like, oh, what night? Saturday night, I guess I got time to watch some of this, but we'll hold some of the good stuff off till Sunday night. I was like, no, you don't do that. That's stupid.
Yeah, they've not ruined it, but they've taken some of the glory from it by
Yeah.
doing it 2 nights
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
But I watched it a couple of years ago when it was on Peacock,
Yeah, that's what I was watching.
and it was
yeah.
free. So, I mean, it was still entertaining. I mean, I don't want
Yeah.
8 hours or 6 hours of it,
But
but
it's like the Oscars where they be like, all right, we got 2 hours Saturday night and 2 hours Sunday night. You'd be like, no. That's their big event for the actors and actresses. And it's like, you want to have it that one night, make something special. And now they're doing their other ones like that. It's like the Royal Rumble used to be. That's the one we used to watch. Me and my friends would watch it because you have 30 guys coming out every 2 minutes, and they don't have enough wrestlers because there's other matches that night. So they bring back somebody that haven't wrestled like 10 years.
It was
You know?
way more interesting the way
Yeah.
they did their format.
You'd be watching it, and all of a sudden, here's somebody, oh my God, I've not seen him since the 80s. And he comes out and wrestles for like 2 minutes. And now it's like, oh, we're going to stretch that out to 2 nights too. It's like, no, stop.
yeah. And they started doing some of their pay-per-views on Saturday nights instead of Sunday nights. I remember them being on Sunday nights back in the day.
Yeah, but I
mean,
would
remember
prefer
that
them to
was-
be on Saturday nights though, because you can have a
Oh,
party
yeah.
and people come over. It's like,
Yeah.
I never understood
Yeah.
whose idea it was to have the big WrestleMania stuff like that on pay-per-views on Sunday nights.
Or the
Well,
Super
why did they have the
Bowl.
Super Bowl on Sunday
Yeah,
night?
why did they do that? Why is that not on a Saturday night when everybody can party and have fun and then sleep late? I mean, just
Yeah,
get up,
imagine
go
your
to
Super Bowl
church, but
parties on a Saturday night.
yeah. So let's start a petition, people. The Pixel People
Let's do
Pod
it.
petition.
But back
The
in the 80s,
PPPP.
but back in the 80s, for me, it wasn't WWE that was
No,
the
it was
big thing. I mean, it was
NWA.
NWA, yeah, Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen and all that stuff, Ricky
Yeah.
Steamboat,
Yeah.
you know, all that stuff back then. The WWE didn't become massive, I think, around here until probably probably 5-6 years after the first WrestleMania, probably early
It was
90s.
like late 80 when it was main by the time 88 when Hulk Hogan wrestled Andre the Giant and he was in Pontiac Silverdome and that was on like all the news and sports stuff that started passing up. And then Jim Crockett sold it to Ted Turner because he was losing money. But what's funny about this, and we'll get off this wrestling thing, is Vince did that, but that was not the first big wrestling event. The NWA and Crockett and all them started Starrcade having on.
Yeah, I remember Starrcade.
That was the big one, and like around I think they did Thanksgiving night, and but they would do that, and then Vince decided he'd put big nationwide one.
Yeah, and then he's ruined himself.
Yep.
June 30th, 1986, Madonna released the album True Blue, which was the best-selling album of 1986.
Really?
It was the best-selling album of the 1980s by a female artist and one of the best-selling albums of all time. Had 5 singles that were great on it. Live to Tell, Papa Don't Preach, True Blue, Open Your Heart, and
La Bonita.
yeah, thank
I
you.
know 3 of those songs, so I don't know what the other 2 were, but I know 3 of them.
I knew all of those songs. I just can't say one of them.
Those weren't her best songs, though. Her best songs were earlier in the 80s. So I've been listening to a lot of her lately.
March 30th, 1987, Prince released the album Sign of the Times. That was his first solo album after the disbanding of the Revolution. And it peaked at number 6 on the Billboard 200.
That's funny, though, because that's one of them deals where it's like, yeah, it's Prince and the Revolution, and now I'm going to go solo. It's like Tom Petty when he put out Full Moon Fever. It's like, I'm going solo, but, I'm going to use the same guys except for the drummer. And, Prince, it was always Prince. The Revolution was his
If you read about this
yeah,
album,
they helped write some. Oh, you talking about this one?
if you read about this album, he did the music himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't have to rely on
But he did a
band
lot of the
members.
music on them other ones himself. He just toured as the Revolution, I think. But, it's like nobody else is writing them big hits like him. What was the songs on that one?
I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man, Sign of the Times,
Yeah.
and You Got the Look. What's crazy about this album, it only took 4 months for it to be certified platinum.
Yeah. Back then, you sell an album, it would, sell fast.
He had a song on there called "If I Was Your Girlfriend." That was funny.
Following Prince's death in 2016, the album re-entered the Billboard 200 at number 20.
So he died in 2016.
Yes.
Yep. 10-year anniversary coming up.
So did
Alright.
George Michael. I can't believe they both died in the same year. That's crazy.
Yep. We should have a Whose Death Was Bigger episode. We'll have people call in live and give a vote.
It's almost the 10th year coming up. He died on April 21st,
Yeah. When was George Michael?
December 25th,
Oh, okay. Really?
Christmas Day. Yep. Yep.
Last Christmas. It wasn't last Christmas.
Wham. What a day.
Yeah, I remember my kids called me after, when they found out and said, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Why?" George Michael died. My son always plays jokes. I'm like, "Whatever, dude, stop." He goes, "No, seriously, look it up." And I looked it up. So, yeah.
Yeah, my friend Paul was a big Michael Jackson fan. When I was working late it was a Thursday, and I was working late, and I saw that, and I called Paul. He's at work, and I'm like, "Dude, Michael Jackson died." Whatever. And I said, "Paul,
Yeah.
Michael Jackson died." What? And I was like, "Yeah, I guarantee I ruined his day." So yeah.
Yeah. That movie comes out next month.
Those are some big. I mean, not like I remember where I was. I was 5 years old when Elvis died, and I remember that. That's a core memory. But there's not many musicians that die like Michael Jackson, Prince. When Tom Petty died, it was a big deal. There's musician deaths, and there's like, whoa,
When Jack Russell died, it was a big deal
Yeah.
to me.
yeah. But it wasn't Prince, or Tom Petty, so.
Released March 30th, 1987, Into the Fire, the 5th studio album by Bryan Adams. He was a
He's coming to the
huge.
Spectrum Center.
He
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
That was a
Oh.
huge commercial success. It sold over
Oh,
2
yeah.
million copies.
He's a weird one because he was so big for so long, and then like I remember like 5-6 years ago, I thought, what happened to Brian Adams? He just fall off the face of the earth. And I looked him up, and he's like a photographer now when he's not touring. But apparently he still tours like every couple of years. I just didn't realize it because I don't listen to the regular radio much anymore. But he still tours a lot and sells out places. And I was like, I thought he just disappeared. But he's a big
Yeah,
time
I'm surprised.
photographer now.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's playing Spectrum Center because last time he toured, he played at what's now called Truliant, which was the old Verizon
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
PNC or whatever.
Yeah.
So now he's like going indoors. I was like, oh, okay, so he
See-
sell out Spectrum. So
If he was playing in the outdoor place, maybe I would have went and saw him this time. He's got a lot of hits. Although he's
Yeah.
got one of the 80s songs that's on my list if I never want to hear again. Summer
Cuts
of
like a
60.
knife. Oh,
No, Summer of '69. I never want to hear that song again. I mean, it was good when it came out, but that's one of them overplayed songs. But
that's a great song, though.
It's Only Love, the him and Tina Turner do, is one of the most rocking songs that's not considered a rock song ever. It's got killer guitar in it. I mean, that song rules. I used to play that chords on my guitar and think I was like, Eddie Van Halen, just hitting those chords on my guitar. I was like, yeah, That's a really good song though. Yeah, he's definitely up there. If you're doing a '80s musicians Hall of Fame, he would be in it for sure. Canadian though, so
yep.
you gotta-
Yeah,
you
takes
gotta-
him down a notch.
yeah, take a little bit of shine off him.
Speaking of
Yeah.
Canada,
Yeah,
did either of you watch Fraggle Rock?
I know Fraggle Rock. Yeah, and I might have watched it, but I know what it is, but I don't have fond memories of
Yeah.
it if I did.
The
It
last
wasn't something I tuned into, but I know what you're talking
I
about.
can vaguely remember it. The last episode was shown March 30th, 1987.
Something
Then
tells
Fraggle
me,
Rock was no more.
was that not like a public television Canadian thing?
I just know it was filmed in Canada.
Yeah, I swear I think
Kind of like the PBS of
I
Canada.
think Sam Roberts was talking about this last week on his show on Sirius, and they got talking about Fraggle Rock, and I'm pretty sure it was like a PBS Canadian show. I have to look that up, but I mean I could be wrong, but something tells me I'm not, which means I probably am. So.
March 30th, 1988, Beetlejuice premiered in theaters.
Oh, I love that movie.
That was
What a great
huge.
movie.
And one of the few movies that puts a sequel out almost 40 years later, and it was good.
Yes, it really was.
Did you like the sequel, Chris?
It did not disappoint.
I did.
They did the Jeffrey Jones stuff, how they had to write him out, because of the stuff he did. Being a registered sex offender now, they couldn't put him in that movie. So the way they killed him off in the movie, then at the end, there's a little running thing about he actually was kind of in the movie. Do you remember that? I
I'd
can't,
have to rewatch it. But
yeah,
know
I
what
can't
you're
give it
talking
away,
about,
but yeah.
There you have Jan's Gnarly News.
Thank you, Jen. That brings us to the topic this week, which is the movie 16 Candles. We watched this last month, all three of us, and was going to do it, and then we lost Robert Carradine and did the episode on him on Revenge of the Nerds. So we've flipped it back now and gone back to our original 16 Candle episode. And
Speaking of,
Yeah.
R.I.P. Chuck Norris.
yeah, we lost Chuck big in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. There's different eras of Chuck Norris, which is kind of wild because you had the 70s martial artist, you had the 80s Delta Force and the action hero, and then 90s Walker, and then.
Texas
Worst
Ranger.
TV show of all time.
But I love that show. It's so
That's
cheesy.
the worst TV show of all time.
The eyes
Have you
of
seen the
Ranger
episode?
are upon you.
Stop. Have you seen the episode where the little kid goes,
Yeah,
Walker told me I have AIDS.
yeah. Walker told me I have
Oh,
AIDS. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah,
it's
but he
so
was
stupid.
dealing with a serious. People cut that clip out. You see the whole episode.
My dad loved that. My kids would watch it when they were younger.
Yeah.
And I would, it's the one show I'm like, I never turn this TV show on in my
I
house.
watched-
the best
some of
role.
it. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the best role Chuck Norris ever did. I'm not a Chuck Norris guy. I hate he died, but never was a Chuck Norris guy.
Mm.
His best role ever was Dodgeball.
No, yeah, okay, that one scene, but I like Texas Ranger. I used to watch it at work in the afternoons. It'd be on, and I'd let it play, and it was very cheesy. I mean, it's very cheesy, but it's a syndicated show. That's what they put out for. It was fun for what it was. I mean, it was like, you could see everything coming in it. The acting was like very safe, but it was fun to watch. And
Yeah,
did you know
never
that
was a fan.
the craziest thing about Chuck Norris is, he lost his virginity before his father did? That's how tough he was.
Oh my God.
So anyway, yeah, rest in peace, Chuck. So that brings us to the movie now. We're writing it up after the loss of Chuck with
Okay, let's talk about something positive.
yeah, 16 Candles. So Jan, give us our little synopsis here on the movie before we get into it.
Well, it was the 1984 directorial debut of John Hughes.
Yeah.
It's a classic teenage coming-of-age comedy. It explores the chaotic life of Samantha Baker, played by Molly Ringwald,
Yep.
around her 16th birthday and how she navigates her heartbreak from her family completely forgetting about this huge milestone 16th birthday.
Yeah, that's your first birthday that is the milestone is your 16th. Really? Don't you think?
Well, you know,
13
Yeah,
I
and
thought
I
was
would-
pretty cool
Yeah, I
because
guess.
you're a teenager
yeah, but
finally.
16 you're driving.
Yeah, 16 's
yeah,
driving.
I would say too in this movie, before we get into it, like the sister,
Yeah.
the one is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Why would you schedule your wedding or
You
whatever
know what, Chris?
around that big day?
This whole time we watched that movie and I've read up on it and done everything, it never hit me that, yeah, that's kind of a jerk move, man.
Yeah.
I never,
How did you
selfish.
not think that was a jerk
I just
move?
didn't think about that. But yeah, why would you schedule your wedding around
On
her
the
birthday?
like
The day before
day
her.
after- yeah.
Yeah, that's a bunch of crap. Yeah. Well, her
Yeah,
sister,
because-
obviously, look at the guy she married now in the movie. She didn't make good choices in life. So,
Yeah, that guy's funny though.
yeah.
He's made, but that's just, to me, that was the first thing. Like, I'd never watched, oh, I know I'm jumping ahead, but I'm thinking about it. I never watched this movie all the way through ever until we watched it the other day,
Yeah.
or last month or whatever it was. And that was one thing that jumped out on me. I'm like, this, what a pain in the butt. I would use the other words, but, we're a family podcast.
Yeah.
What a pain in the rear of somebody. How selfish can you be? That's ridiculous.
Never thought about it.
Pick any other day of the year, but let's pick it on the same day or like the day before
Yeah.
or the day after my sister's 16th birthday,
Yeah.
whatever. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, very rude. But she's got all this going on, with them forgetting her birthday, and she's just crushing really hard on this senior, Jake Ryan, and also dodging advances of this nerdy freshman who has taken up to her, the geek, as we'll call him. It was a box office hit, and it launched the careers of the young stars and Hughes. It set him up to be one of the biggest voices in 80s teen movies
Yeah.
ever.
And I'll tell you why. There's people that listen to this probably aren't movie nuts quite as much as we are. So I decided to run this by so people would know just what a genius John Hughes was when it comes to writing and directing as far as the 80s goes. So these are the movies that he wrote and directed. He did both. 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Weird Science, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, She Having a Baby, and Uncle Buck. That's the movies he wrote and directed. Right there is a Hall of Fame. You're on top of the 80s, But, hey, he wrote movies too and let other people direct them. This is the one that's got my favorites in it. He wrote Mr. Mom, National Lampoon's Vacation, National Lampoon's European Vacation, Pretty in Pink, Some Kind of Wonderful, The Great Outdoors, which is my favorite movie he's involved in for some reason. I just love that movie. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I jumped it up to 1990 just to add a little movie he wrote called Home Alone. That guy could write and direct. We
And
lost
he was very, very good at writing about teen stuff.
Yeah. We lost him in 2009, way too young, but that guy, he kind of backed off all the stuff by then, but he had a run like nobody's. I mean, I just named off pretty much 60, 70% of the funniest 80s movies ever, and he wrote them all. It's wild.
He was brilliant at finding humor in things that teenagers did.
Yeah. Chris, out of all those movies I rattled off, which one's your favorite?
Well, I don't remember the list. Like, I didn't write them down, the list that you said, but like just from off the top of my head, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles
Yeah.
is up there for me.
See, that's one I didn't
course.
watch back in the 80s, but then when I watched it in the 90s, when I got older, it was like, that movie's brilliant. But I probably wouldn't have thought it was as funny as a kid in the 80s, but it wasn't written for a kid. It was written for adults.
Didn't you say Uncle Buck was in there?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's great too.
Did you know
I mean,
I've never seen Uncle Buck?
I've tried.
What? Oh,
Yeah.
Tried to
you
get you
have
to
to
watch
watch
it.
it, dude.
Yeah, I know.
got it.
It's
Yeah.
on our list.
He also had never
Yeah.
watched Breakfast Club until we started dating.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that.
But
you can
but I
think
watched The Great
whatever.
Outdoors 50 times, so that made up
Yeah.
for missing the other one. And And it's funny because I'm one of the weirdos that out of those written but not directed by, besides The Great Outdoors, my second favorite one on that list is European Vacation. I love that movie over Vacation and Christmas Vacation. I'm one of those weird ones. I could quote European Vacation right now. It's hilarious. So very underrated movie.
Not as good as Vegas Vacation, but
I actually like Vegas Vacation, but it's
I
like
do too.
it's flawed, but it's funny,
Yeah.
So
But no, he was brilliant for his time for sure. I mean,
and
he had a great 15-year run.
Yeah, and you don't hear a lot of those actors and actresses ever say anything bad about him. They'll say like, well, in hindsight, a couple things in this movie and Breakfast Club, they say, we wish we'd done it different back then, but they'll never like slam him for it. That's just how you wrote him back then.
Well, that's like everything. Back then, it was, just times were different. So you could do different things than you can now. Everything now, everybody puts under a microscope and they want to judge it like, oh, I can't believe you actually said this about that person or whatever. I'm like, dude, that's life.
Yeah.
They were cultural norms back then.
Yeah.
Yep. Can't penalize now for what stuff that was the norm then when it comes to movies.
Yeah, like Long Duck Dong.
You just love saying that.
Yeah. So flipping on that real fast before we get back in this movie, something happened to me today that I was like, dadgum, I wish I. So Robert Carradine had a podcast he did, started like last fall, and the last one that he had recorded, I listened to today. It just came out in the past couple of days.
Didn't he do it like a week before he passed away?
Yeah, and they just
How did he put it out?
he did it with his buddy. His buddy's a director and all this stuff. So
I got it.
Yeah, okay. So
From the great
from
beyond.
the grave. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was about Hollywood stories, and he was telling Hollywood stories that him and his buddy had and all that stuff. So after listening to it, they said this is part 3. So I went back and started going back. I listened to part 2. Then I was trying to find part 1, but the first episode was on Revenge of the Nerds. And so I started listening to it, and they got talking about it. And he said, yeah, they were saying something about, he goes, yeah, if you want it, you got to buy it because it can't be streamed. And he wouldn't say why. But apparently it's kind of the way he said it and made me think it's being held out because of content. Which is sad because it's not that bad
There's
a movie.
so many more movies that are worse
I
than
know.
that one.
I would have bet anything that movie is not streaming, not because of content. It was some kind of ownership thing. But the way he said it and looked, it was like, yeah, if you want to see it, you're gonna have to buy it because it won't be streamed again. That kind of sucks because he's missing out a lot of royalties on that too. Those guys.
Yeah.
Let me add that they started shooting this movie This is when it started, July 11th, 1983, and released in May of 1984. And talking about being a hit. This don't sound like much now, but you got to remember when it was back then. They filmed this movie for $6.5 million, which was actually a lot for a comedy, I'd imagine, back then. But in its theatrical run, it grossed around $24 million. So it definitely, it made money.
I bet
They say for a movie to be successful, you have to double the budget.
Yeah.
So, like, if a movie costs you $6 million, it has to make 12 before it actually turns a
'cause
profit.
promotions.
So, yeah.
I bet a huge chunk of that was the car he messed up.
Oh, the Rolls Royce?
Yeah.
Yeah. He borrowed that from, one of the trivia things I saw was he borrowed it from a friend's dad who had that Rolls Royce. That was a friend of his, John Hughes. It was his friend's dad's car. Yeah, that always gets me when I found out I heard that years ago, Chris, that, if it costs you $10 million to make a movie, you're going to spend another 10 just promoting it and getting it in the theaters and all that stuff. So, so double it. Yeah. So, if you doubled it, this thing doubled its money because it doubled it would have been around 12, 13. So it made money.
It was definitely a
And
hit.
I'd imagine $24 million back in 1983 was a lot for a comedy. So that, that's definitely a hit.
What do you think that is adjusted for inflation for today? I mean, I'm sure it's probably close to $100 million.
Yeah. Probably about $3 per. So yeah, 75, 80 to 100 probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would ask
So, I
Siri.
mean,
I've learned a lesson, by the way. Don't ask.
Yeah, during the podcast.
It's happening. If email listens to the podcast and you hear me say, hey, SIRI, your phone will start answering it because it did it at my desk the other day. It's like, oh, I meant to never do that again. Because you can hear on the podcast me going, hey, and then all of a sudden it goes, yes. My phone was like, oh, God. So, yeah. It wouldn't pick me up the other week asking it right here. But
it
playing
picked
it
it up
back
on
on
the
the podcast, yeah, it picked it up. So,
If you had an Android, you wouldn't have to worry about that.
yeah, I know. So,
Hey, real quick.
Yeah.
I looked at it, and for adjusted for inflation now, it shows that it was a $9 million cult classic rom-com and it's 123 million adjusted for inflation.
Well, definitely that's
Wow.
good. Even
Yeah.
now, making 100 million is something for a movie.
Yeah,
So the movie, I'm sure if you haven't seen it, watch it. But it's a typical. It's okay. I guess I was thinking about this too. You watch that and it wasn't typical to my teenage. Some of it was, but some of the stuff in it was not what I suffered through as a teenager. But I think I missed out, and probably both of us. Well, Chris, you lived in a development, so you got to see friends and all that stuff, right? You were.
yeah,
Yeah, see, I didn't have that. I mean, I lived out in the country, and Jen had her cousins, all them lived around. So I think about that when I see some of these movies, and then people that live in neighborhoods where they can just get around like that. I didn't have that teenage. I didn't have that as a teenager before I got my car and stuff. And I didn't go to dances. I wasn't going to go to school dance. I just wasn't. Even though I could have, I'm like, I'm not going to that. I don't want to go to that.
I went to school dances. They were fun.
Yeah, girl.
It's still, even though maybe not all of it pertained to how we lived
Yeah.
in the 80s, it still captured the awkwardness of adolescence very well, I think.
Well,
Especially the awkwardness with her crushes.
I think I can speak for Chris. One scene though, if there was, we could rattle off about half a dozen girls that we went to high school with. That if somebody said if we gave them $1, we could see their panties, we would probably have done.
Do we? Hey, you want to increase our listenership? We'll start naming them off.
No, we're not. We'll do that on the Patreon episode.
Okay. The one that I can think of most, her name.
Yeah. We probably have the same number one, but anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of. But that leads us into some of the criticisms of the movie, though, because I knew watching it right off the bat. And I remember watching it as a kid and thinking how funny it was. When I was a kid, it's been the 90s when I saw it, or late 80s. But even then, I knew that the long duck dong was a stereotype and a little over the top. And that's not even anything. It's like when the grandmother goes, "Hey, there's your Chinaman." And I'm like, nobody talks like that anymore. That's offensive. You never say that now. There's your Chinaman.
Right.
Then, putting the gong in it, is like they just over the top with that. I mean, anybody watches that now is going to be like, yeah, you could not put that in a movie now, that over the top.
Yeah, which is, I mean, it's sad that you have to be so PC with that.
You could do it, but you'd have to do it a different way. You could put.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley is one that did, with the Asian character, Jin Yang.
Jin Yang.
Yeah.
Very good.
Silicon Valley did it with Jin Yang, but Jin Yang was always like as stereotypical as he was and that actor, he's a comedian, Jimmy something. He's actually doesn't talk anywhere near like that, like Jin Yang, but he always got the best of the guys, and when he's goofing on him, they goofed on him, but he scored points back, so that's how you could pull that character off. But
Yeah.
I'll go ahead. We were going to talk about some trivia and some stuff in this movie, but I'll go ahead and tell one of them right now. Long Duck Dong. His real name is Gede Watanabe. I think that's how it was. He's been in everything. I kept trying to think of where's the biggest thing that I remember him from, and he's the guy that does the Wheel of Fish game show on UHF, Weird Al's movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. He said that that character that he did, he went into the process. He saw that it was going to be like they wanted an Asian, stereotypical Asian sort of thing. So he went into the tryouts and stuff and just imitated his Korean friend. And after they were finished and they said, okay, you did good, he goes, okay, thanks, and talked in his normal English American voice, and they were like, all right, you got the job. Because he does not talk like that in real life. He was putting on just a fake. He was a crazy comedian. They said he would crack people up off camera and stuff during the filming of it. So he was like the
one thing.
Go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
mean to cut you off. No. So the one thing that, like, honestly, I told you I'd never watched this movie all the way through until we watched it.
Yeah.
Honestly, thought that the guy that she was in love with, whatever his name was,
Yeah.
was Matt
Jake.
Dillon the whole time.
I did too.
My whole life.
For years, I thought that because he even looks like him. And that guy didn't do hardly nothing. He acted till like 1990. It's like, I'm done. He just never. They said he was really awkward on. I was reading up that he was really awkward on the set because he was really very shy, which was different than you think the character he's playing, which is the big face jock and all that stuff. But he was like very shy on the set. Jen, what was your first take of Long Duck Dong when he first showed up on the screen?
I just thought it was funny. I mean,
it is, but
I could see how it could hurt feelings.
Yeah, but and another little thing I saw was that when he read the script, there was nothing in there about the gong. They added that way later in post. I guess they thought it'd be funny to every time you see his name play an Asian gong. What was his name, Jan? What was his name in the movie?
I'm not going to say it.
Say it. Chris, what was his name?
Long Duck Dong.
So, and the other thing, the other controversy in that movie is, okay, the sexual consent stuff they say in that. Like, you know, like I read, it said the subplot of Caroline, the prom queen, and the geek, because Jake essentially gives his blacked out, intoxicated girlfriend to the freshman he barely knows, telling him to have fun. Yeah, but he was like, take her home. He was like, you know, have fun, but it just like, take her home. You know, he was in.
He wasn't saying, "Hey, go have your way." With
Yeah.
her.
In a way, he was saying he trusts him enough to get her home safely.
And
But he was also fed up with her at the time too.
Right,
He was like,
right.
"Let's get her out of here. Let's go."
the thing that I saw where somebody wrote, it said implicit assault. The film implies that Caroline and the geek have sex while she is too drunk to remember her own name. The narrative treats this as a comedic win for the geek and a funny mistake for Caroline, completely bypassing the reality of sexual assault and the lack of consent. But they never say they just say, did we do it? Neither one of them.
See, that drives
It's
me
implied.
crazy.
Yeah, it's implied,
No.
but they were both
I
drunk.
do not see it that way at all. They both woke up.
Yeah, not even knowing
disoriented.
what happened. I mean, you're saying that they're saying the people that say that's like an assault were saying that he assaulted her. They were both blacked out. They don't neither one know what happened.
They were reckless teens.
Yeah,
They were
And-
living it up,
yeah,
being
Parties.
pranksters.
yeah,
Yet parties like that exist today.
yeah.
It's just people don't talk about them. I mean, it's just parties haven't changed.
Well, I was just going to say, Ted was only worried about how he appeared to his friends.
Yeah.
Who's Ted?
Ted, the
Ted
geek.
Farmer.
His name's Ted Farmer, but they call him Farmer Ted because the teacher says her last name first. It's like Farmer Ted. Like,
I
you know, yeah, his name's
just remember
Ted
him as
Farmer.
the geeky kid.
He just wanted to be big at school. When he walked back in after that weekend, he walked in Monday morning.
Yeah.
He just wanted to be seen as this god
Yeah.
that, hey, he might have made out
Mm.
with this girl.
You know,
Neither one of them remembered the
Right.
night before.
right. So you could, you know, people that read into that, you're going to read in what you want to read into it. I prefer to look at it as probably nothing happened. They just fell asleep in each other's arms in the back of that car. They were both drunk and they, you know, just. But I also like to, in my head, like to think that maybe they ended up together. The freshman, got the beauty queen right there, and maybe they were dating after that. So, but
These were just actors playing characters. They were made up in somebody's mind.
yeah,
The movies are meant for us to kind of get an escape from life.
yeah,
And this movie was written for us to go watch it and have an escape
Yeah.
and just watch the lives of these teenagers.
I know. But everybody wants to look back 40 years later, and it's the same thing they do with the Breakfast Club about.
And why is nobody bringing up what Sam's grandfather said to her about her having
about
boobies?
her. Oh yeah, that was.
Why is nobody talking about that? To
Yeah.
me, that's more
What'd he say? I don't
inappropriate.
remember.
He was like, look, your boobs
She's got
are-
her boobies.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they're growing in there. Look at them. And
To
yeah, I
me,
remember
that was more that. To me, that was the most inappropriate thing in the movie.
Yeah, I remember watching that.
Because
Going,
what
yeah.
girl wants her grandfather to
I
notice
think
that?
I even told you, Jen, like, boy, they couldn't put that in a movie now.
I mean,
Yeah,
I would not want my grandfather to notice that
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all. I would have
yeah.
hid under a rock for the
Yeah.
rest of my life.
yeah, I agree.
And nobody's bringing that up.
Okay, you brought it up.
But let's be honest, the most
know.
offensive thing is Long Duck Dong.
Nor is anybody bringing up the fact that Sam and her friends stood there watching Caroline take a shower
Okay,
and commenting on her body.
let me tell you, here's some trivia on that. They had to edit out F-bombs to avoid an R rating for this movie. And there's a rule. I always thought it was 1, but there's a rule by the ratings board which stands that if you have more than 2 F-bombs in a script, the movie gets an R. So you can, if you ever watch a PG movie, there's always like 1 F-bomb in it, and it's like, oh, that's the one time they can use it, and it's usually for good effect, you know. Which is why The Breakfast Club gets an R, and this movie gets a PG.
Is that
Oh.
still the rule today?
Yes, but it might be PG-13 now, but here's the funny thing, though. This movie got a PG with 1 F-bomb in it, but they had a full nude scene in it of the high school girl showering, full on, like 8-9 seconds of it. And I remember us watching it going, holy crap, because I hadn't seen it so long, I forgot that was in there. It's like, this is a PG movie. We could do a podcast. I'm going to need to look it up sometime so you can research this podcast on '80s PG movies that had nudity in them, because I can think of a couple like just freaking me out. Like, whoa, you don't expect to see it in a PG movie, and that's way worse than F-bombs. I mean, as far as like you showing it to somebody, But I did read that wasn't that. It was like a 20-year-old stunt double that was playing the woman in the shower. But still, it was like that was out of nowhere when that happened. Yeah, I don't think I have to look up when the last PG movie that came out that had nudity in it, because you cannot do that now. The 80s were a different but better time. But yeah,
80s were great.
yeah. So we got some other trivia on the movie here.
Well, it's been stated that Anthony Michael Hall and Raleigh and Molly Ringwald didn't like each other at the beginning of the filming. So John Hughes took them to a record store, and they bonded because they liked some of the same music that was in the record store. One of the groups that they both liked was the Rave Ups. And if you'll notice in the movie, Samantha's walking down the hallway at school with her notebook, and she's written the Rave Ups name across the binder.
I found this wild, and I love this stuff. I would love to see, every movie should put like a making of segment in it, because her bedroom in the movie was actually built inside that gym that they have the dance and all that stuff in. That's the set is built inside that gym. Her bedroom was, because they filmed so much stuff in it. And it's like, I would love to see like behind the scenes.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah.
But saying that about Anthony Michael Hall and Molly Ringwald not liking each other,
yeah,
they also went on to date each other.
Yeah.
So they dated in the early 80s.
Yeah. What wonderful children of the 80s they could have had if they just stayed together.
I know. They would have been redheaded.
Yeah, if
for
I could go back and put it right, they would have married each other. So, and still be married happily together now. So,
They'll make a 40-year sequel to it.
yeah. Well,
And they'll be together.
they were actually, she looked at a script one time. It was called 32 Candles. They were going to double it when she was in her 30s. But I did see that Peacock had been working like 3 years ago on a TV show for it on 16 Candles. But I guess it never went anywhere, because that was 3 years. We'd have heard something about it by now. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if this would be a good enough movie you could pull off now to get enough people to watch it to make a TV show out of it.
No.
Yeah.
No. I don't think so.
They also said that the movie's costume designer begged Molly Ringwald not to wear that hat that she wore in a lot of scenes, but she insisted on wearing it. And then after the movie, a lot of teenage girls started wearing their hat the same way. And
Did you wear yours like that? Did you wear a hat?
I did not have that kind of hat.
Oh.
No. But I will say, I loved how she looked in this movie.
Yeah.
I loved Molly's look.
Yeah.
And I loved the people around her. I loved watching how those 80s characters dressed and how they went to school each day, and just reminiscing about how it used to be in high school.
This was something cool. I found out that, and I've got to go back and watch it now. I've got to find the other movie and watch the scene and see if it's probably on YouTube or put them together. But the moving shot of the exterior of the high school that was used for the beginning of this movie was also used at the end of Weird Science. The same people can be seen making the same movements in both movies. So they just
All right, so we're going to have
recycle
to go back
them.
and rewatch some
Yeah.
movies. They say that Haviland Morris, who played Caroline, was a natural redhead. In the movie, she was not redheaded.
Yeah, she's like a dirty blonde in the movie.
But she was a redhead. But John Hughes only wanted one redhead in the movie, and it had to be
And
Molly,
I've seen
of
pictures
course.
of her now, and she's got dark red hair and had it. But that explains why they had no problem cutting a chunk out of her hair in the car at the end of the movie, where you can see a big chunk of her hair missing. And I remember looking at it going, I wonder if she let her really cut her hair like that. Then you found out, nah, it was a wig. She's a redhead. So I was looking at the ages. It's kind of wild though. So Jake Michael Schofling, I think is his name. He was 23 years old when they made this movie. And Haviland Morris, who played Caroline, was 24. And Getty Watanabe, Long Duck Dong.
Who did he play?
Long Duck Dong was 28. But Molly Ringwald and Michael Anthony were only 15. And when I read this, I was like, yeah.
Michael Anthony
Hall. So Michael Hall. Anthony Michael Hall. I got my Van Halen on the brain. Wait a minute. Okay. And Molly
That was last.
Yeah. I'll just leave that in.
Podcast.
I was going to edit that out, but I'll leave it in. Yeah, they were both 15. And I remember watching the movie and thinking these other ones are way older than them because they look small compared to the other actors.
Yeah, you could kind
They're
of tell
15. It's very obviously those two are 15. know,
Especially Anthony Michael Hall.
yeah.
He really did look.
What's
really
wild
young.
is I know him back then, you know, from this movie and National Lampoon's Vacation, where Vacation, there's scenes when they went back and shot the stuff for the theme park. They had to come back and reshoot some of it. And if you look at that movie, he starts off like the same height as his mom in it. And when at the end, he's like 2 inches taller than her because he grew like 2 inches over 6 months. But you see him as this little wimpy, bony kid back then, and he's like a big, strapping guy now. It's so wild to see how he changed over the years, you know. You wouldn't even recognize him now if you didn't know who he was. But this movie, like I said, I hadn't saw it in years, and then watching it, it was like, it holds up. I think it holds up whether people want to complain about some of the stuff that you couldn't do now. But it's still funny, and it still holds up to me as a great comedy overall. It don't have to be an 80s comedy. It's a great comedy with some drama thrown into it. And her pining over that boy and crying and all that stuff, every teenager, boy and girl, did that over some girl or boy in the 80s. That was
Teen
very
crushes
realistic.
were brutal.
Yeah. That was, I mean, it was very real. And like I say, Hughes, like you said, Hughes can write that, man. You know, I don't know what he suffered in his life, but because he apparently had a pretty good upbringing. All that vacation stuff was based off his childhood. So he had good parents. But
Something that I thought was kind of funny in watching this movie was, remember when the guy's trying to call Molly and the grandparents answer?
Keep answering the phone. Yeah.
And that could not happen today because they're just going to call her cell phone and they're going to text her cell phone.
Chris, did you have any friends, or did you back in the 80s have your own phone line?
Yeah, I had friends. Thanks for saying I did.
I mean, did your friends have their own number, their own phone?
No.
I knew.
We had the phone. We had the phone hooked to the wall. You know, the rotary dial phone.
Yeah.
With 10 or 15 foot cord added to it.
We had one in our kitchen, and then one downstairs. And then Dad, since we had a basement, Dad ended up running lines into all the bedrooms. So I had a phone in my bedroom, but it was all on the same line. And then
my mom and dad had one in their bedroom too.
Yeah, and then he just ran. Back then, it was amazing what my dad would do. But we had a building he built out behind the house, and he just, I guess, dug down a foot in the dirt and dropped the phone line in that and ran it out to the building. We had a phone out in the building.
Rich kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was the same line, though, but I knew some people that had their own phone line. That was like, wow, you know, you're a rich kid when you have your own number.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and.
Remember calling people and getting a busy signal?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was the worst.
Over and over.
Do you remember your phone number growing up?
I do.
Yeah.
Me too.
I still know mine, but I'm not going to say it because it's still my mom and dad's phone number. And
Is it really?
Yeah, they've kept it.
That's
And
cool.
I still, you know, if you called it right now, they'd answer, or they
Well,
just let
let's do
it.
that. I'm gonna put you on hold.
Yeah,
Let me
okay.
call it.
That stuff's definitely changed. It is wild to watch that stuff, but again, as much as I love my cell phone and having access to the internet 24/7, I kind of miss the days of just having a phone, and you knew when that phone rang, it was something important or somebody important calling you. Now it's like 10% of the time it's something important or something worthwhile. Most time it's junk.
I'm going to remember that next time I call you.
But I mean, speaking of phones, though, we couldn't be doing this podcast right now because Chris is on the phone, just like he's sitting in the room right here with us. I mean, it's amazing how technology's caught up like that, where you can just plug one thing in and we're recording a show.
You gave away our secret.
Yeah. Anybody got any, closing thoughts on this movie? Because I'm sure we're giving it like 4 pixels, right? Or 3. I give it 3 out of 4. It's got a couple things I'd change, but although I don't know, is there anything? I don't think I would change anything on this movie. I take that back. I'm giving it 4 pixels. We're just starting that right now. 4.
I mean, you just got to go into it knowing it's just a movie.
Yeah.
Don't get your panties in a wad over all of it because
And if you
Molly
do-
didn't because she took hers
And
off.
if you do, charge $1.
And if they're in a wad, charge $1.
Yeah. It's a John Hughes movie. That's all you got to say. And we're going to be doing, I'm sure, over the run of this podcast, many more John Hughes movies. Because that list I rattled off could be one a month, and you'd take a year and a half to get through his movies, and they would all be great movies. We got to do at least one more for the year's out on this. We got, I don't know what the next one will be, but it won't be a John Hughes, but it'll be a good one. As we wrapped it, Chris, you give this one. How many bowls do you give this one? Chris's ratings are on bowls. His cereal bowls. Yeah.
I'd say probably 3 out of 4.
Yeah, that's good.
It was good. I wouldn't sit down and watch it again though.
Really?
I mean, it's not.
I wouldn't right now, but I would a couple years down the road. I'd sit down and watch it again.
I
Would
mean,
you
I've
want
seen
your
it
grandkids to see
once.
Yeah.
No,
Really?
I want them to see John Wick, and I want them to see that kind of. I'm just kidding. Uh, no, maybe I don't know. Maybe when my granddaughter's older,
Yeah.
but like when my daughter was, a teenager, we didn't show her this movie. She didn't really, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I don't know. So to me, it's 80s personified. I mean, it's 80s. This is an 80s movie. I don't know if I need to be watching it in 2027.
Yeah. All right. Well, that'll wrap this one up this week. Next week it's not a music and it's not a movie. It's on our first cars. So this is going to be a different one this week coming up. We handled it a little different. It's going to be interesting how we put it together. But
That'll be fun.
yeah. Okay. So anyone listening to this starting today, when it drops, you have till Thursday. I'll give you.
April 2nd.
April 2nd, to message the Pixel Underground page or me or Chris or Jen on Facebook and tell us your first car you had in the 80s, your car. If you didn't have one and you drove your parents' car they gave you, that's fine. Tell us, but we also want to know, what did you want to drive? Everybody had their first car, but there's that car they wanted that their parents wouldn't get them or they couldn't afford. That's the big one. We want to know what you drove or what you really wanted to drive back then in the 80s. So be thinking about that and get your submissions in, and we'll read them on the podcast. So until then, guess we're signing out. Chris, got anything to add?
Long Duck Dong.
Jan?
Shine on.
The Pixel People Pod. Zap, 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 it's on. Rewind the future fraud. The Pixel People Pod.
那很气。